So, last time, my dad was telling me about how his story, when he was a kid, found a body by the river with his friends. And man, that corpse was messed up, leaking nasty water, covered in maggots, and get this, for strong dudes couldn't even lift the coffin. Turns out, according to Master Zhang, the fortune teller, the guy was murdered and dumped in the river. Master Zhang used some red thread and yellow talismans to calm the spirit down, and they ended up burning the body. But that wasn't the end of it. There were still some shady things going on with Doggy's death. And then his mom. She was so heartbroken, she ended up taking her own life. The old dude finally breathed a sigh of relief after he was done, and paid Master Zhang. Master Zhang looked up and saw it was already noon, so he asked me if I was hungry. If I was, he'd buy me lunch. Man, when I was a kid, the second someone offered to treat me, my stomach would start growling, even if I wasn't really hungry. Plus, I was still growing, so I was always starving. But I felt a little weird about letting someone I just met pay for my meal. So I tried to refuse nicely, saying stuff like, "No, thanks, and I'm not hungry yet." I was so cheeky. Honestly, I was actually scared he'd say, "Oh, you're not hungry. Never mind then." I would have missed out on a free meal. Talk about shameless. Master Zhang said he just got paid and told me not to be shy. So I said sure thing and took him to the little market in the village for lunch. Back in those days, you could get a huge bowl of mixed noodles for just a dime, and they were loaded with stuff. The noodles were springy, and they'd put soy sauce, sesame paste, and chopped green onions on top. You just had to mix it up a little, and you were good to go. I used to love that stuff when I was a kid. Now, when I go back to the village, I still crave a bowl of those noodles sometimes, but they just don't taste as good as they used to. Since Master Zhang was paying, I went all out and had 3 bowls, but the noodles were pretty thick and dry, so my throat was killing me. Master Zhang saw that and laughed, then ordered me a small bowl of clear wonton soup to wash it down. He just got a bowl of noodles and a cup of tea for himself. After we finished eating, Master Zhang paid the bill and we started chatting. He told me that he'd actually met me once a long time ago, right after I was born. He was in our village on business, and my grandpa asked him to name me. He said that when they brought me to him, I stopped crying, so he felt like we had some kind of connection. That's why he gave me a name for free. I just sat there smiling and nodding, to show I was listening. Then I remembered the red thread on my pinky that tightened up when they opened the coffin at the morgue. So I asked Master Zhang what that was all about. Master Zhang explained that the red thread, besides keeping my soul and spirit steady, also had a sensing function. Someone as experienced as him could usually tell if there were spirits around, just by feeling it. When he mentioned the red thread, he asked me if I'd had any more nightmares last night, and how many times the thread had tightened. When I told him it only tightened once, when they opened the coffin, he let out a sigh of relief. He explained that if the thread had tightened more than 3 times, I'd be in big trouble. But since it only happened once, I should be fine. Master Zhang chuckled and said that ghosts come into types, harmful and harmless. Even if the red thread tightens, it only means there's a ghost nearby. Usually, they don't hurt living people. But since you've seen the people die violently, and you went into a haunted house where people died, that's a different story. I did the math. Doggy, the floating corpse, and Lin San, the hanged guy. That's exactly 3 people if the thread had tightened 3 times. Wouldn't that mean they were all hanging out in my room? Thinking about it now, it's pretty freaky. Every time the thread tightens, it means there's a spirit nearby, and they could have been staring at me while I was sleeping. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. But since I didn't have any nightmares and the thread didn't tighten again, it means the scissors under my pillow are doing their job, so I don't have to worry too much. He's coming to my place later to finish up whatever he needs to do. Seeing how calm he was, I felt better too. Then I asked him what it's like to see a ghost, 'cause I kinda wanted to see one too. He told me seriously to forget about it. He said it's like, if you've never seen a ghost, you probably never will. But once you see one, you'll definitely see more. And you'll be dealing with them for the rest of your life. And ghosts, they usually show up looking like they did when they died. Most of them stick around because they have unfinished business, or they died violently and are holding onto a grudge, so they can't move on. Ghosts with unfinished business usually look just like regular people. You might even see them and not realize they're ghosts. But ghosts who died violently, they don't usually look so good. They can be pretty disturbing for normal people, Master Zhang asked me which of those 3 guys had a peaceful death. I thought about it, and it didn't seem like any of them did. Then he asked if I still wanted to see a ghost. I shook my head like crazy. After chilling for a bit, I took Master Zhang back home. But when we walked in, my grandpa was sitting there, looking super pissed. Man, he must have been worried and came home early, and then found out I'd snuck out again. He was furious. He started yelling at me and raised his hand to hit me, but Master Zhang quickly stepped in and smoothed things over. He said he'd gotten lost and I'd just gone to meet him. My grandpa was still a bit suspicious, but since Master Zhang said that, he couldn't really say anything. He just yelled at me, saying if I did it again, he'd beat me to a pulp. I quickly agreed, saying I wouldn't sneak out again. Did you really? Stop sneaking out. Are you kidding me? You believe what a kid says. I still snuck out whenever I could, and I got caught a few times, and man, I got my butt kicked. You never learn. That's a man's romance. You wouldn't get it. My grandpa asked Master Zhang, really worried if my situation was serious. After all, I'm the only grandson, the one who's supposed to carry on the family line. He couldn't let anything bad happen to me, or he'd have no face to face his ancestors. Master Zhang said that from what I described, everything should be all right. Then he started taking out his tools from his bag and setting them up in our house. He burned some incense and talismans in my room, put a yellow talisman above my bed, and set up a door god and a land god for our house. After he finished all the rituals, he said that as long as I stayed home, I wouldn't be bothered by spirits, but that only worked at home, so it was just a temporary fix. After that, he asked me to take him to Lin San's haunted house and Doggy's house, saying that to fix the problem permanently, we had to deal with the root cause in those 2 places. Just thinking about that haunted house and Doggy made me feel really bad. I was super reluctant, but to make my life easier later, I gritted my teeth and took him to the haunted house first. On the way, he told me he'd already taken care of the floating corpse, so I didn't have to worry about that anymore. I just forced a smile, 'cause I really didn't want to go to that creepy place. I wouldn't have gone there at all if I hadn't panicked and run inside that day. Finally, we got to the front of the house. It was all run down and falling apart, 'cause nobody had taken care of it. Even I could tell something was off about the place. Other houses were white or yellow, but this one was all grayish black. My house has been around for years and the paint hasn't faded like that. This place turned that color a few days after the people died there. Master Zhang said it was cause the house had too much yin energy, and it affected the way the house looked. Man, a whole family hanged themselves in there. You can't tell me there's no yin energy. I heard someone say that one time. A guy was walking past the house at dusk and saw lights on inside. He figured he'd go check it out, see who was brave enough to live there. But man, he wished he hadn't. He said he saw legs hanging in the air through the window, and when he looked up, he saw people hanging. One of them was facing away from him, but then it slowly turned around and smiled at him with a long tongue. The guy peed his pants right there and ran home to tell his wife. Nobody thought he was seeing things, 'cause everyone knew that Lin San hanged himself at dusk. When Master Zhang got there, he shook his head and said there wasn't much he could do with a haunted house like that. He didn't have the right tools, so he could only do a simple ritual to apologize to the spirits for me. Like he said, I bought a bunch of paper money and candles to burn, and by the time we were done, it was almost dark. Master Zhang said he was staying at the morgue for now, but he still wanted to stop by Doggy's house. I was still feeling really awkward about seeing Doggy's mom, so I really didn't want to go. But since Master Zhang wanted to, I had to suck it up and lead the way. When we got there, Doggy's mom was asleep. She was exhausted from crying so much. I was relieved. I tried to light some incense for Doggy, like Master Zhang told me to. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get them lit. I looked at them and saw they were all wet, like they'd been soaked in water. I was wondering why Doggy's family was so careless, letting the incense get wet, when suddenly, a fishy, stinky wind blew by. There were wet footprints on the floor, like a kid's, and the red thread on my pinky tightened up. Oh man, I forgot it was Doggy's spirit return night. So, the spirit return night, that's what we call the seventh day. It's when the spirit of someone who died comes back to their house for one last visit. According to tradition, the family prepares their favorite food and everyone goes to sleep early, so they don't see the spirit and make it sad, which could mess up their reincarnation. And tonight, it just so happens to be Doggy's spirit return night, and I completely forgot. Now the red thread on my pinky is tightening up like crazy, telling me there's a spirit nearby. Master Zhang is frowning too. He probably felt Doggy come back a while ago. He started chanting really fast, but super quietly while I'm just standing there with the incense, totally clueless and in the way. Watermarks started appearing on the floor out of nowhere, all over the house, like some invisible person with wet feet was running around. I was so scared. I'd never seen anything like it. I wanted to run, but my legs were like jelly. I couldn't move. And then, all of a sudden, I felt someone breathing on the back of my neck. It was cold and wet, and even though it was a hot summer night, I felt like I was standing naked in an ice cave. I instinctively wanted to turn around, but Master Zhang stopped chanting and grabbed my face with both hands, saying, "Don't turn around. It's not a person behind you." I was totally freaked out. "Not a person. That's a ghost," I yelled. "Wah Doggy, it's me. Your brother's here to burn some incense for you. Don't do anything crazy." Then I looked at Master Zhang, all panicked and helpless, waiting for him to save me. Master Zhang, without even flinching, pulled out a willow branch, the kind with the leaves still on it, and started swiping it behind me. After a few swipes, that cold feeling went away, and I could move again, even though I was sweating like crazy, even though it felt like I was in a freezer a second ago. As soon as I could move my legs, I ran and hid behind Master Zhang, scared something else would happen. Master Zhang said, "Looks like your little buddy isn't happy to see us." Then he slowly backed us out of Doggy's house. Even though Doggy was my friend, he really freaked me out. When we finally left his house, I felt like I'd just escaped death. I asked Master Zhang, kind of freaked out, why Doggy was trying to scare me. Was it because I didn't pull him away that day, and now he's holding a grudge? Was he gonna come back and get revenge? Master Zhang shook his head and explained that tonight was Doggy's spirit return night, and we're supposed to leave the house empty. So, we were there at the wrong time, and with all the talismans on me. He probably thought I was there to catch him, so it's normal for him to be a little pissed. Then I asked, if you're the one who pissed him off, why was he breathing on my neck? Master Zhang said, he wasn't trying to possess you. He could only get to you. With all the talismans on me, he couldn't get near me, so he had to settle for breathing on your neck. It was just a warning, like if we didn't leave, he'd get serious. Master Zhang told me we should let Doggy have his time to say goodbye to his house and not bother him tonight. We could come back tomorrow and do a ritual to help him move on. Then Master Zhang offered to walk me home and then go back to the morgue. I was so relieved after what Doggy did. I was too scared to go home alone. My house wasn't that close to Doggy's, and some parts of the road were super dark. With Master Zhang there, I felt much safer. But it was weird, though. Why were all the villagers asleep so early? Nobody had any lights on. We could only see by the candle Master Zhang was holding. Master Zhang was telling me about the four most common tools people use to get rid of ghosts: salt, rice, gongs and drums, and the willow branch he just used. I was wondering how a few swipes of a willow branch could save me, so I asked him. He asked me if I had ever seen a statue of Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. She's holding a jade bottle, right? And the branch in the bottle is a willow branch. Since it's a symbol of Guanyin, it can get rid of ghosts. That's why there's a saying, a willow branch hits a ghost, makes it 3 inches shorter. But not just any willow branch will work. The willow branch you use to fight ghosts has to be from a tree by the river. Willow branches from the mountains are bad luck. They won't get rid of ghosts, they'll just attract more of them. While I was listening to him, I started to notice something weird. We'd been walking for ages. Why weren't we home yet? We should have been there by now. But we were going off the main road and walking in circles. The stone lions at the Lee family's gate had shown up 3 times already. Master Zhang asked me if I was lost. I immediately said, I've lived in this village my whole life. How could I get lost? I could find my way home in the dark. I wasn't just bragging. I've lived in this village my whole life. I've walked every road and alley. I've never gotten lost. But no matter where I led Master Zhang, we just couldn't get home. When the stone lions at the Lee family's gate showed up for the 5th time, I was totally stumped. At first, Master Zhang didn't think much of it. He just thought I was confused from being scared by Doggy's ghost and couldn't remember the way home. But then he saw my face and realized I wasn't lying. I knew my way home, but it was like some invisible force was blocking us from going the right way. Oh crap, we're stuck in a ghost loop, Master Zhang said, slapping his forehead. When I heard that, my legs went all wobbly again. Ghost loop. My grandpa used to tell me stories about ghost loops all the time. He said when you're walking alone at night, ghosts can mess with your eyes and make you walk in circles. If you're lucky, you can get out of it after a while. But if you're unlucky, you could be stuck there forever. I used to laugh and think it was just a story Grandpa made up so I wouldn't sneak out at night. I never thought I'd actually get stuck in a ghost loop myself. So I quickly asked Master Zhang what we should do to get back on the right path. Master Zhang pulled out a cigarette and started smoking. He took a long drag and blew the smoke out in front of him. Normally, cigarette smoke goes up, right? But when Master Zhang blew the smoke out, it went down when he saw that he was even more sure we were stuck in a ghost loop. We were in a place with super strong yin energy. So strong it was pushing the smoke down. Then he bit his middle finger and dripped some blood on the ground and started chanting some stuff I couldn't understand. After a while, he told me to lead the way again, but nothing changed. We walked in circles and ended up back at the stone lions at the Lee family's gate again. This time, I was totally freaked out, grabbing Master Zhang's sleeve and asking him what to do. When Master Zhang saw that the blood dripping method didn't work, he walked up to the Lee family's gate and tried to knock. As we passed the stone lions, I felt like those empty eyes were staring right at me, but I thought it was just my imagination. Later, Master Zhang told me that there might have been spirits in those stone lions, using their eyes to watch us. He said if we'd shown any fear, they might have tried to hurt us. So, when you're walking alone at night, you have to stay calm, no matter what, especially if you feel someone behind you or like someone's watching you. Because whether it's a thief or a ghost, they'll take advantage of you if you look scared. Then, Master Zhang knocked on the Lee family's gate with 2 fingers. But it was weird, when his fingers hit the door, there was no sound. Like he was knocking on thin air, and the door wasn't even there. Master Zhang started to realize how serious things were. He told me we weren't just stuck in a ghost loop, we were also being tricked. He knew we weren't really at the Lee family's gate, because there was no sound when he knocked. That big wooden door was just an illusion. Some force was leading us where it wanted us to go. And if we weren't careful, something really bad could happen. He told me from now on, no matter what happened, I shouldn't just walk around. He said what we saw might look like a road, but it could be a cliff or a ditch. Ghosts who died violently often use these tricks to find someone to take their place. Man, the thought of being killed by a ghost any second was freaking me out even more. Master Zhang quickly told me to stay calm. He thought for a moment and said, whether we can get out of here depends on you. I was totally confused. Me? A 10-year-old kid? That'll just get us killed. Faster. He chuckled and said, it's because you're 10 that we have a chance. Wait. My dad suddenly stopped talking. Huh? I drank too much, I gotta pee. You stop at this crucial moment. That's so lame. No, whether it was then or now, peeing is the most important thing, my dad said and rushed off. I sat there at the table, trying to figure out what he meant. Could it be? Then I heard the toilet flush and the faucet running. My dad came back, all casual, and started telling the story again. Master Jean explained that to break this kind of spell, kids' pee has some kind of magic power, so it was time for me to shine. It's still just peeing. What's so special about that? He told me to walk forward a couple steps, turn west, close my eyes and take a leak, then turn back, and that would break the spell. So I did what he said, walked forward and unzipped my pants, but pee doesn't just come out on command. I stood there for ages and nothing came out. Master Zhang was telling me to keep my eyes closed until I was done, but I was thinking, how am I supposed to pee in this situation? I told him I couldn't go. He told me to think about how it felt when Doggy was breathing down my neck, and suddenly, I felt a chill down my spine, and I had to go. After I finished, I opened my eyes and realized we weren't at the Lee family's gate anymore. We were by the river where Doggy drowned. I turned around to ask Master Zhang what to do, but he was gone. Master Zhang disappeared.